Hey guys, and welcome to our latest unboxing video. Today we're very excited. We have a brand new brand here at Kronos AV, and that is the hugely popular and absolutely luxurious EAT turntables. The turntable that we are featuring today in our unboxing video is the EAT C Sharp, and this one we have here comes pre-fitted with the gorgeous EAT Joe number 5 cartridge as well. As you can see here, the products are extremely well packaged. It's double boxed, which is always a great thing for shipping. It just means your inner box is always well protected, and therefore can always be used in the future, but also means you're getting a perfect product when it arrives. As you'd imagine, the products are really well packaged, and everything inside is heavily protected. So as we open up here, you'll see you get two documents on the top. The first document is a quality control check. This is all done by hand. It's just a really nice touch and a touch of luxury and care from EAT. The second document is simply your instruction manuals, which are very easy to read, which helps obviously, of course, when you're setting this up. As you can see, everything is really well packaged, very safely packaged. If we go through some of the parts here, so this is actually the turntable clamp. So this is obviously what's clamping down your vinyl. It's a really nice piece, and we'll look at that a little bit later on in more detail. Here we have your tone arm counterweight, and this is again really nicely made, beautifully machined piece, and with some rubber damping inside as well. So really clever piece as well. And just below that we have actually an added weight. This can be added to the counterweight for heavier cartridges if you need it. Here in the middle we have the main sub platter. Again, this is a beautifully machined piece. It's exceptional build quality, and as you see, it just has a little protector on the bottom there. And then finally we have 2 feet. This particular turntable uses 3 feet. One is actually pre-installed, so you have to fit the 2 front feet, which you see here, but these just simply screw in. It's a very easy procedure. Here we have the speed control unit. So this is of course for adjusting the speed 33 and 45 and on and off. It's a really again nice piece, very stylish, very high quality buttons and accessories used on it as well. Next we of course have the power supply. This turntable does come with a switch mode power supply, and it comes with a range of US, EU or UK adapters, so it can be used in many areas. It is a very high quality power supply however, and is quite substantial. So next we'll just go through the accessory pack, as you can see here. So the first thing we have is our small anti-skate. We have a set of white cotton gloves just for help when we set it up. We have the grease, which as you can see is very slippy, but yeah, is your grease, which is just used for the main bearing. You have your stylus gauge and alignment tools. You get a large microfiber cloth, which is just useful for cleaning and making sure that everything doesn't get scratched or damaged. You have your standard drive belt as well. And finally you have your tone arm cable, which is again a very high quality nice piece, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in our review diaries video shortly. So we'll just remove the main turntable plinth and set it to one side just for a moment, and we'll unbag that in just a sec. And then finally in the box we have the main platter itself. Again, this is a hefty piece. It's a metal platter, very beautifully machined and made, but as you can see of course has this rubber top piece, which is going to help a lot with isolation. As you can see, it's just a beautiful piece, beautifully machined. Let's get the product built now. So this is what we were talking about earlier. You'd start with just simply adding the 2 feet to the base. We're obviously using a piece of the packaging here just to give us access to the bottom without damaging the turntable. And of course, as you can see, we have the cotton gloves on just to make sure we don't leave fingerprints or actually any residue or oils on the drive belt or the platter itself. So we just have to turn it one side to remove the packaging. And now that we have the feet installed, we can set up the turntable itself. We would of course go through and use a spirit level to make sure this is completely flat before we plate it as well, and the feet can be adjusted slightly to do that. There are essentially 3 transit screws. These are simply standard Phillips star heads, and a simple screwdriver will help remove them. They're very accessible, and you just need to make sure you remove all 3 before playing the turntable. These are simply here just to keep the product safe during transit, and of course it is worthwhile putting them somewhere safe just in case you need to ever transport the turntable again. You would need to put these back in just to make sure all the parts remain safe during transit. As you can see, the tone arm does come pre-fitted, as does the Joe number 5 cartridge in this situation. So the alignment will be done on the cartridge, but you will still need to do the counterweight and the few adjustments with VTA, etc. As you can see, there's a small cover over the bearing and its shaft. The grease can then just simply be applied. It's about 0.5 milliliters maximum here, so we can obviously gauge that from the syringe. You can just simply apply an appropriate amount. Obviously make sure to seal that back up because it may be useful in the future when it comes to servicing the turntable. And of course the wee protector cover again is just useful to keep safe somewhere in case you need to repack it up again or send it or transport it. The next process is essentially to get the sub platter. You remove the small protective cover that is used for transit, and then just very carefully and very gently slide it over, bearing in mind there will be some grease on that, so you want to make sure that you get it on nice and straight to avoid getting grease or anything like that around the sub platter that may end up going on the drive belt. Of course, give it a couple of spins just to make sure everything's moving nice and freely, there's no grinding noises or anything like that, just in case there's any damage during transit, which would be extremely rare but is always worth checking. Once you have the sub platter on and everything is okay, of course you can then get the drive belt. Once again, making sure we remain with the cotton gloves just to make sure we don't get any of our body's natural oils or anything like that on the drive belt. This can make it slip, and of course it's very hard to get off. So just again, of course, very carefully slide the drive belt over the motor unit and the sub platter. Once you've got it lined up, we always advise giving just a couple of very gentle spins just to let the drive belt get all lined up for itself. Make sure again everything is spinning nice and freely, nice and true, and then you can move on to the next stage. The next stage will be the installation of the platter itself. Of course, you want to be really careful when you're handling the platter. Obviously if this gets damaged or anything, it will not run true, so again just take your time and make sure you very carefully set the platter down on. This should just simply slot in over the top of the sub platter, but it is worth just taking your time, making sure everything's lined up, and again just giving it a couple of very gentle spins to make sure everything is free and there is nothing that is binding or causing any problems. Here is the turntable clamp, which we talked about earlier. It's a beautiful piece. This is a threaded clamp, so as you see, you set it on and then using the top area you simply clamp it down tight onto the vinyl. So it's a really nice piece, very nicely engineered, and obviously has a huge sonic performance as it can obviously secure your vinyl flat to the platter. Of course, the next process then will be to move on to the tone arm. So what we need to do in this situation will be to add the counterweight and also the anti-skate weight, and then finally the tone arm cable. So again, just very carefully at this stage you can put the counterweight on. Of course this will have to be all set to make sure it's the appropriate weight for the cartridge, but for the moment and for the video we're just getting it set on. just add a little bit of weight to the cart, or to the tone arm. Next we will look at the anti-skate. This can be a little bit fiddly. Obviously it's using essentially fishing wire. They are quite small parts, so do take your time. It does occasionally require a little bit of patience. Obviously try not to get frustrated. They can be a little bit fiddly, as I say, but with a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, you can get them on. They are just quite small, so certainly several people have come to us and said they get very frustrated with them, but normally once they're fitted once, you won't need to do this again. So you simply just remove, there's a part that comes pre-installed in the tone arm, simply remove that. That's just going to help to get the anti-skate set up. It just unscrews, so just out of shot here, I'm just getting that lined. Once the anti-skate is attached, you can slide this back on, as you can see here, tighten that down, and then the small piece of fishing wire simply loops round. There is a small screw on the far side, this just can be removed. The small loop on the anti-skate is slid over, and then that screw is then screwed back in and reattached to the tone arm. It's quite an advanced anti-skating unit on this turntable. It's very, very clever design, and as I say, once it is on, 99 times out of 100 it will remain. So again, just checking everything's right, and once we have that done, then we can move on to the cabling for the turntable, the speed control unit and power supplies. So just to make a little bit of space for speed control unit, we're just going to slide the turntable over very slightly, and then we can install the speed control unit. As I say, this was a beautiful unit, very, very stylish, very well made. This simply slots into the back of the turntable. Just bear in mind it is a multi-pin plug, so just make sure everything is correctly aligned, as if you try to plug it in and it's misaligned, you may end up bending the pins. So again, just take your time and make sure everything is well lined up. And again, you can just tidy the cables up to make everything nice and neat, make sure nothing catches. Very similar again, on the other side we will connect up the tone arm cable. It's essentially exactly the same process. Again, a multi-pin system, so again, just take your time, be careful to get the configuration right, and after that you are pretty much ready to go.